Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and in this video we're breaking down The Sixth Sense. It's a movie that kick-started M. Night's career, and to me it's still his best film. The breakout smash hit was an absolute phenomenon, and its twists one of the most famous in film history. Alongside Darth Vader saying, "I am your father," you have the reveal that Bruce Willis was dead, which, spoiler alert, birthing countless people saying "I see dead people." It's one of the most quoted films of all time. What I love about the movie though is that there's several layers to it and lots of hidden details. This of course involves the twist, which is the first thing I want to discuss in the video. There's tons of examples that you might have missed which make the movie even better on multiple watches. Now I think everyone's well aware that we never see anyone other than Cole speaking with Malcolm. This is shown to us in the end and it involves scenes with Lynn and his wife. However, there's other moments throughout, including every character pretty much ignoring him. No waiter comes to take his order at the restaurant and he doesn't move the chair because it's already out. In fact, several waiters walk right by him and they put down the bill even though Anna's not finished her dessert. When Lynn goes to the pediatrician, no one acknowledges that he's there. Wait, is that M. Night? There's also certain things with how those around him act as well that give away some things are not right. For example, we see him watching a performance of the school play and can catch two men sat around him. Both have video cameras pointed at the stage, but pay close attention to the guy at the back. He's pointing it directly at the back of Malcolm's head, which makes more sense when we know that he's a ghost. Malcolm would be completely invisible, and that's why this guy doesn't change seats for a better view. When Cole and Malcolm go to the wake, we also see the pair walking up a path. Malcolm walks partly on the grass, which would be an odd thing to do if the guy was really there. There's also just, in general, how he speaks with Cole. Normally a child psychologist would meet a patient in their office. Instead, Malcolm shows up at his home and then follows him along to the church. Malcolm also keeps his desk in his cellar, which would be a strange place to position it if he was alive. At the start of the film, we can see his files and stuff on there as we get a good view when Anna goes to get a bottle. After walking down the steps though, we see the files right next to them and then catch him working at his desk. This is also just a cellar in general, which you'd have to really be in the doghouse. Instead, I believe that after Malcolm's death, Anna didn't really know what to do with his things, so she moved them down there to the basement and put the files in the boxes alongside the desk. Malcolm is also unable to open the door, and it makes sense she'd just lock these all away. In the end, we also learn there was a table there which wasn't present when he was alive, so it makes sense that he wouldn't be aware of it as he's still in denial over the fact that he's dead.
They only see what they want to see. They don't know they're dead.
This imperception of reality comes across to his marriage as well, as it looks like the couple's having troubles. Anna's painted out as being shut off from him, and we're made to think she's the problem. However, M. Night hid a little detail with the character. We can see her wearing her wedding ring throughout, whereas Malcolm doesn't wear his. Normally, this would show she's trying to save the marriage, whereas he's the one who's trying to get away. The fact that it's the other way around shows that something's off, and it highlights Anna wants to remember her husband. There are more subtle things as well with how the film's edited. Malcolm's shot at the beginning and we then jump to 1 year later. Now you would expect something showing his recovery or even him in pain from time to time. The fact we pick up with him and everything's fine makes things seem slightly off. In hindsight, we know we actually saw his death and that's why there was no recovery. Malcolm also wears the same clothes throughout the film, with it being the same shirt from when he was shot. And that scene's how we kickstart the movie with him and his wife in their home, broken into by a former patient named Vincent. Is that Donnie Wahlberg? It is!
Listen up, everybody, if you wanna take a chance.
Which I was blown away by, but there are some small details I do with the scene. As we know, Vincent broke in, and when we see this bedroom later on, we can catch bars over the window. This is to stop more people breaking in, and a precaution by Anna because she's all alone. In the build up to this, we see she's just had a meal by herself and hadn't made anything for Malcolm. The book's still open on the table, she's left the meal half finished and then gone upstairs to bed. You can catch tissues in her hand as well, so she's clearly been struck with grief mid-meal and has gone to bed crying. Going back to the beginning, we can also see Vincent has a little white tuft of hair. This is something we see Cole with later on, and as we learn, both can see the dead. Now even though it's a really small part, Donnie lost 43 pounds for the role. This is supposed to show what could happen to Cole, and it highlights why Malcolm has to help him. He believes that if he saves Cole, it'll somewhat redeem his failure with Vincent. What I love is that this kind of plays in the idea of unfinished business. It's often thought that spirits remain on Earth because they have some failure in life they're unable to move on from.
Because he feels that
if you can help this new boy be like helping that other one too.
This thing with Vincent is holding him here, and after helping Cole, he can finally move on. I will talk about the actual unfinished business later on, but this ends up becoming a two-way street. Cole in the end realizes that he should help the dead, and it'll allow them to pass to the other side. That's something he does with Malcolm throughout, and while Malcolm helps him, Cole helps him back. In the end, we see Malcolm finally moving on and watches the screen then fades to white. This obviously shows he's going to heaven, and people who've had near-death experiences often describe a bright light. However, what makes this so impactful is because of the technique they begin in the opening. You might notice that when they end the scene, M. Night often has a picture fade to black. Rewatching the movie, paying attention to this specifically, lots of scenes fade to black. It's only in the end when the movie fades to white that Malcolm's finally able to move on. This brings things full circle from the film's opening shot as well. We begin with a light turning on, and it's the perfect way to kickstart the movie. Now over the years, we've been trained to expect certain things from a horror film. The slow build up to a jump scare, the dark and dusty basement, it's all things we expect to see before something scares us. However, what I love about this film is that it subverts those expectations. The ghosts in this aren't really the ones who hurt people. Though they can harm and scare, we see that they're just as scared as those who see them are. Instead, it's the living that hurt the most. Whether it's Vincent or Kira's mother, the ghosts aren't the ones we should be afraid of. So though the scene in which nothing happens to Anna has been described as a fake out, it actually makes a lot more sense with the themes of the movie. Upstairs, we then see lots of red thank you cards, and the award has a red backdrop. I'm sure you guys know, but there's a big indicator in the movie that a ghost's about to appear. This is highlighted by the color red, and every scene in which one shows up, we get the color prominently on screen. When Cole goes to church, we can see that it's got a big red door. Inside, there's red steps and a red candle at the altar, and Cole grabs a figure wearing a red robe. Upon returning home, Malcolm sees a red cloth on the table, and then upstairs, his wife's in a red blanket. When Cole returns home, we can see his mother has bright red fingernails, and Anna wears red at the restaurant. The door handle to the cellar is also red as well. She ends up giving a gift to Sean in red wrapping paper, and wears red when Malcolm breaks the shop glass. When Malcolm and Cole walk to school at the 28-minute mark, we can see a red stop sign and a bunch of kids. Thought they were Limp Bizkit fans for a second because they're all wearing red hats, but this is for the baseball team. There's a red balloon that flies up right before the cupboard scene, and Cole also wears a bright red sweater. As Tommy and Co climb up the stairs to lock him in, we also see that these are red. There's a red tent before Kira appears, and her stepmother wears red at the wake. In Kira's room, there's a big red card, and the case with her VHS tape is red as well. The pipe cleaner added to the soup also has a red cap on it, and Cole gives his sister a red marionette. When Lynn's looking at photos of the ghosts, we can also see that she's got red nail varnish on. When Malcolm listens to the tape, we can see him turning up the volume, and as the ghostly voice comes in, this goes from white to red. Now in real life, this was done for practical reasons, to warn the volume changing could potentially damage your hearing. However, I think it works great, and it's a nice symbolic way to usher the ghost in. At the play at the hour 28 mark, we can see the sword also has a red stone in it. We also have the cyclist, and the scene starts off with a red flare. As we pan up the street, we can yet again see the red doors of the church. Lastly, when Malcolm realizes he's dead, we can see Anna wrapped in a red blanket. So it highlights what's about to happen, and works as a good way to indicate it's about to go down. In the case here though, I actually think Vincent may have brought a ghost in with him. This is because Anna brings up sweaters and cardigans because it's getting cold. The temperature dropping shows something paranormal's going on, which is why Anna pulls the blanket in closer when Malcolm shows up to the bedroom. Being able to see a character's breath is also something that indicates a ghost nearby. This is something we see with Cole throughout, and also at the end with Anna. Now it's also possible that this is because Vincent's left the window open. However, a spirit may currently be tormenting him. When Malcolm sees him in his bedroom, we can catch a wound on his leg. At the 10-minute mark, we can also see scratches on his back, and right after the shooting, he has them on his abdomen. This could be what gave him the final push, and who knows what he's seen that's got him to this point. Anna then says,
I never told you, but you sound a little like Dr. Seuss when you're drunk.
Seuss, like Malcolm, was also a doctor that helped children. However, just like him, he didn't have any children himself. Anna says he's sacrificed everything for his work, and that he's even put his work above his wife. We see he's being given an award for child psychology though, so you can see why Vincent keeps him on this plane. He's seemingly the unfinished business he has to fix, but in actuality, it is of course Anna.
That you have put everything second, including me.
Malcolm saves Cole and redeems himself for Vincent, but still the character doesn't move on. It's only when he tells his wife how much she really meant to him that the character is finally able to go.
You were never second.
he gives her the closure she needs in herself, and she's also going to be able to let go.
You sleep now. Everything will be different in the morning.
In the end, she finally says goodnight, and making sure his wife's okay is the final thing that lets him go. Now after his death, we pick up 1 year later and see Malcolm following Cole. Sitting across the street from his home, we get him reading some notes. If you pause this though, which I did, you'll see these are actually Vincent's. Though it's on screen for just a second, there's actually some really creepy details on them. Vincent is described as being distracted by his surroundings, with it saying it's almost as if people were lurking in the corners, asking him questions at the same time I was. Obviously, we know this was the ghosts in hindsight. However, Malcolm wrongly diagnosed this and said it was down to his parents' divorce. This is what Vincent blamed him for, as in the end, he just couldn't help. Malcolm then flicks to Cole's notes and we see he's circled some of the same things he had with Vincent. This includes a divorce and how he acts socially. Following him, Cole passes by red stairs and then runs like he's aware Malcolm's a ghost trying to get him. Now the whole premise of this entire movie was actually inspired by Are You Afraid of the Dark, which was a show that terrified me as a kid. Do not show me that clown episode ever again. Now according to M. Night, he got the idea after watching The Tale of the Dream Girl. It has the main characters getting ignored by several people, and in the end they realise they're dead. Spoiler alert for that as well. Going inside a church, the pair then meet for the first time.
We're supposed to meet today, but I missed our appointment. Sorry.
I'm guessing that Malcolm originally had him booked in, but he missed it because he's dead. Malcolm then tells him how people used to hide in churches and claim sanctuary. This clearly sticks with the character, as he later tries to do something similar in the tent. Cole asks,
I'm gonna see you again, right?
to which Malcolm replies if that's okay with you. This then comes full circle at the end when Cole asks the same thing in their final meeting.
Not gonna see you anymore, am I?
Malcolm won't, and thus it's kind of like a final departure in which he gets to move on. However, they do decide to pretend to see each other again, though I feel like they'll meet again in the afterlife.
I'll see you tomorrow, Cole.
Now we then see as Cole leaves and steals a figurine. Huge shoutouts to Brush Between Meals on Reddit, who pointed out what this represents. Each of these figures is supposed to be a ghost, and these are to mark the ones he encounters. So Cole picking this up means he's realised 1 year, with this figurine representing Malcolm. Now, along with M. Night, this was of course a breakout role for Haley Joel Osment. The guy is perfect for the part, and apparently he was really invested. According to IMDb trivia, he told M. Night he read the script 3 times in one night, with actors normally just focusing on their parts. Apparently, he was the only actor who showed up wearing a tie to the audition, which also made him stand out. Amongst the actors was also Michael Cera, who said this was the first film he auditioned for. He said he did the magic scene too cheerfully and admitted to not reading the whole script. So he thought Cole was supposed to be cheerful and didn't realise he was tormented by ghosts. Little ghost boy. However, Osment brings so much to the movie, and you really feel him when he says,
You're nice, but you can't help me.
This emotion's also mirrored in Toni Collette, who plays the character's mother. Apparently, she didn't even realise it was a horror until she saw the premiere. You can feel that as well throughout, and there's lots of emotional high points. I actually think this might be the movie I've cried the most while watching, as it came to DVD around the time someone close to me died, and watching it, I'm like, crying every 5 minutes. I've been honest with you. Do not tell Screen Crush. Now, another bit of foreshadowing towards Cole's abilities comes with his name. Cole's full name is Cole Sear, with Sear being someone who's thought to have psychic abilities. I've seen people also say Cole sounds like Soul when said with a soft C. So we have Soul Sear, with this being like a medium. At his home, we then watch Lynn getting ready and catch lots of red items when she closes the cupboards. They do an excellent one-shot take here where she goes into the back. Upon returning, all the cupboard doors are open, displaying even more red products. I absolutely love this shot, and I couldn't find how they did it, but I'm guessing 40 people just ran in and pulled everything out. Going outside, he then meets his apparent friend Tommy. As we learn though, this is just a guise, and the guy's simply acting. Tommy, of course, wants to be an actor, so yeah, I guess he's good at practicing? Eventually though, Cole pips him to the post, and he gets the big part in the big play. This is King Arthur and Excalibur, with Cole playing the titular role. In this story, he's guided by a mentor who's the magical wizard Merlin. Malcolm tries to get Cole to open up by doing magic tricks, and he becomes a mentor-like figure. He helps Cole to harness his abilities and guides him to who he really really is, which is a lot like how Merlin guided Arthur. Also, is that the kid from Jurassic Park 3? At home, Malcolm then pretends to be psychic, and he uses a guessing game to make Cole step forward. You really start to see the buddy relationship begin to build, and apparently they remain pals in real life. Osment said Willis would call him once in a while and leave messages on his voicemail saying he was checking in. This happened a lot during the press tour because Osment didn't go with him to promote it. So you'd have Willis calling from Japan telling him how it was going, and yeah, it's nice to hear he kept in touch. After walking Cole to school, we see Lynn at home and she turns up the thermostat and zips up her top. This is obviously due to ghosts being present, and we see how much they surround them in photographs. Every one of Cole has a shining light in it, which highlights how they're constantly present. Now this kind of builds off the back of orbs. In case you guys don't know, when digital cameras got really popular, people started noticing strange orbs in lots of photos. At the time, there were several theories that these actually showed spirits. Since then, they've been debunked as being either close illuminations or the camera just picking up dust or moisture. Nice way to play off that though, and later on we get a montage of her cleaning up the house and she comes across Cole's free association writing. In the build up to this, we see his drawings with lots of red in them and he uses red ink on the white paper. However, we also get a photo of his parents on the couch. Cole clearly took this as he's not in it, and you can clearly see how distant the pair are. It's sad that the memory he has of them by his bed is gonna be them distant and apart, and this may be why he struggles to communicate. The paper also has things only adults would say. There's stuff like "quiet the damn baby" and also lots of swearing. So this is Cole repeating what he's heard, and you can see why this trauma would greatly affect him. At home, Malcolm then hears Sean at the door asking Anna to go out. She says she doesn't know if she can deal with the hours, to which he responds,
I just figured maybe you just wanted to get out and get some air, because you'd seemed kind of down lately.
As we know, it's just been her wedding anniversary, so it makes sense why she'd feel even lower. When Malcolm returns home at 39 minutes, we see that she's been watching her old wedding video. This ends with a kiss, which is also how we close out the movie. Now, I don't think we can show this because she's naked, but Malcolm also catches her crying in the shower. He also spots some Zoloft antidepressants, which makes more sense on a second watch. At school, we then get one of the most memorable scenes in the film. It all builds up to Cole shouting,
Stuttering Stanley! Stuttering Stanley!
In the end, the teacher has no idea how he knows, but we do learn later in the film. As we discover, he used to go to this school and there was a giant fire here. One of the teachers was caught in it, and she's the one who's later applying makeup to Cole. So I'm guessing she spoke to him before this and told him about how his teacher was called that. Stanley also asks if people know what the school used to be. Cole tells them they used to hang people, which is something we see confirmed later on. Cole must constantly see this sort of thing, and you can pick this up subtly at another point. We get a moment where they travel past the graveyard and Cole quickly turns away. He shifts his head as if he's frightened, and this is likely because it's filled with ghostly figures. Now, after the party, Lynn goes to see M. Night with the director doing a cameo in his film. Though people think it can be a bit egotistical, originally this was a much longer scene. M. Night apparently hated how he acted though, so he cut it down to just a couple of lines. Anyway, it's from this point that Malcolm goes to visit Cole. It's in this that Cole looks directly at the camera and says the line,
I see dead people.
This is the movie's big reveal of the twist, and it basically gives away Malcolm's a ghost. This is because right after this line, we cut immediately to Willis. The creative team, right, they were a bit worried that this was a bit too on the nose when they were making the movie. However, after screenings, they realized no one figured it out. Personally, I believe it's because Willis reacts like this.
In your dreams?
He's not shocked, so we're not shocked either, and he's more just asking questions. It's such a chilling thing to have right in front of us, and it's even foreshadowed by Cole saying this.
We have to add some twists and stuff.
Okay. Some twists.
Like what kind of twists?
It's telling you right here about it, and I know you always get people like, I knew mate, but I think you're talking rubbish, mate. I think you're talking rubbish, and you're gonna have to hit the thumbs up to make up for it. At this point, we didn't even really know what was going on with Cole, as there'd been no ghosts yet. I think telling us the twist before showing us the ghost is why it's regarded so highly. So you're lying if you said you figured it out. Unfortunately though, it also kind of painted M. Night into a corner. Now, everyone expects there to be a twist in his film, so they actively look for it before going in. First time watchers here though, we had no idea that's what the guy was like, and that's why it works so perfectly. Also, in my research here, I saw the final song on the soundtrack is called Malcolm is Dead, so hey, maybe some people did figure it out before watching it. Either way, Malcolm falls into the trap of not believing him, and he diagnoses him the same way he did Vincent.
I'm not helping him.
Thus he could be doomed to continue walking the earth due to his inability to help him. We too could also be like Malcolm, but from this point the movie really changes tone. Up until now it's been pretty pedestrian, but then we go into all-out horror. Seeing things from Cole's perspective, it's from here the hauntings start to happen. Rushing to the toilet, he comes across a bruised woman in the kitchen who he learns being the one opening up the cupboards. She screams about how Eddie can't hurt her anymore and says, "Look what you've made me do." So my guess is she was abused to the point that she ended up taking her own life. At the school we then see hanging bodies, to which Malcolm asks,
Something up there?
as discussed earlier with Cole, the dead don't see other dead people.
They don't see each other.
I don't see anything.
So it makes sense why he ignores this, but he does eventually understand. Anyway, that night, the kid from Jurassic Park 3's cough syrup ad shown on TV, which is why he thinks he's such a good actor. We then catch Lynn saying the thermostat's broken, but yeah, you've just got a shitload of ghosts, love. Cole also wears his dad's glove at the table, which is a way of holding on to him. Earlier in the film, he wore his glasses at the church, and it ties into how we use things to remember someone. This is reflected in Anna's wedding ring, which she ends up dropping at the end. This builds off the scene where she's working at the store and she talks to a couple about an engagement ring. We learn this belonged to someone and that people feel like they can have deep connections to objects.
I think maybe when people own things and then they pass away, a part of themselves gets printed on those things.
Now in this scene at the table, Lynn asks why Cole keeps taking a bumblebee pendant. As we learn, it belonged to her mother and it's actually her who's moved it about. It's all that she has left though, and I'm sure everyone watching this, they have something that they use to remember a lost one. This Superman figure, I think it's 30 years old, and it's the only thing I still have that my grandmother Joan bought me. The kids keep trying to play with it, and I'm really strict about not letting them touch it, which is weird because it's just an object. However, I feel if something happened to that, I'd have lost the last remaining connection to her. Obviously, if it was destroyed, those memories wouldn't go away, but deep down, I feel like I'd lose her. So Cole is doing this to try and remember his father, and symbolically, it's why the wedding ring falls. Anna drops it on the floor at the end, which is when he realizes he doesn't have it. Anna is also symbolically letting go here by letting go of the object. As Cole says, though,
Sometimes people think they lose things, and they really didn't lose them, it just gets moved.
this works on a spiritual level and how people don't go, they just move to another plane. It's a really deep conversation, and Cole also explains what happened to the pendant.
Maybe someone came in our house, took the bumblebee pendant out of my closet and placed it nicely in your drawer.
Maybe.
Pleading for Cole to talk to her, he refuses to do it while denying he took the pendant.
Go!
Returning to his room, the dog rushes out because animals are thought to sense things humans can't. We then get the kid who found out about his dad's gun the hard way, which always freaked me out this scene. Next day at the shop, we then see Anna getting close to Sean and can see a red carpet. She's also wearing a red cardigan, which we see as she rushes into the street. Cut to Malcolm hobbling up the alleyway, and we can see him holding his side. This is where the character was shot and his wounds playing up as he can't be with Anna. It's a subliminal reminder, and he ends up telling Cole he's gotta go. He says he's put his wife to the side and now has to transfer him. It makes you wonder what was going on in the build up to the shop, as there's not really any reason for Malcolm to be there. Instead, I think his spirit was drawn to his wife, but he saw anger when seeing that she might have moved on. We get the feeling he doesn't believe Cole yet, however he sees a light when playing back the tape.
It's cold in here.
Which makes a lot of sense knowing there was a ghost there. Putting it on, he hears an unfamiliar language, and this plays into the phrase "deep profundus clamo ad ti domain," which was what he heard earlier, and it translates to "out of the depths I cry to you, O Lord." This is what Cole said at the church, and Malcolm translated it on the desk earlier. This is how he knows he's telling the truth, as it's also someone here saying they don't want to die, in Spanish. Now the Latin phrase also pops up at the end of the movie, and you can hear it at the end of the credits. These words themselves are the first from Psalm 130. It's all about a test of fate and how even in the abyss you still have to believe. Malcolm here's finally starting to believe, and this faith in the end is what takes him home. It's also what takes him to the church next, which is when he suggests Cole should help people. Upon returning home, he sees Sean coming out, but we get the feeling it hasn't gone how he wanted it to. Anna's still unable to do anything as she's still really close to her husband. Sean just looks completely deflated, and it's played off like he's not paying attention to Malcolm. In the end though, obviously he can't hear hear Malcolm because he's dead. Spoiler alert, I just said I wouldn't do it, but I'm doing it. Now, we do know from the movie that there is a way the dead can talk to people, as they tend to be more receptive in their sleep. This is how Malcolm talks to his wife, and it's reflected in the scene that happens with Cole comforting his mother. She lies there screaming out in a nightmare, but he's able to calm her down. It's just a nice way to symbolize easing someone's mind, and I like that they have it with several characters. Now, upon returning back to the tent, he's confronted by Kyra, and oh my god, is that Misha Barton? Yep, it's her before the OC, with her being one of the movie's most memorable ghosts. You can totally see why Cole would be terrified though, as there's this ghastly vomiting figure in his room. However, he ends up confronting it, and in this becomes an active character. Taking the bus out, Cole says she came a long way to visit him, and this goes beyond distance. Kyra's travelled from the afterlife and is now seeking his help. Around the wake, we also hear people talking about how Kira was sick for 2 years. Also, I might have called her Kyra, might have called her Kira. We'll move on. Now, we also hear this point.
I just heard the little one is falling ill now.
So it's a pattern of behaviour with a mother having Munchausen by proxy. This is a mental disorder in which a person makes a child either sick or appear sick in order to get attention. Cole then goes up to her room, and we see a little technique that M. Night did with Malcolm. Throughout the film, he tried to shoot him without a shadow, and though it doesn't necessarily happen every single time, it's here it's his most prominent. Though Malcolm's there with Cole and standing by his side, as he opens the door we can see it's just Cole's shadow on the floor. He then takes the tape down and presents it at the wake, and I love the reaction to this. Everything just kind of turns to Kira's mother, and yeah, you just kind of imagine this scene ending and everyone kicking the crap out of her. On the tape, we also get further clues such as how Kira's asking to go outside and play. Her mother says she knows she gets sick in the afternoon, and it's likely the sickness is often triggered around lunchtime. She also says, don't say it tastes funny as it hurts her feelings. So lots of really nicely laid details here, and though it's a tragic scene, you at least get some justice that comes from it. From this point on, we get a brighter and more optimistic Cole, which sees him leading the school play. Tommy is now the village idiot, which might traumatize the kid as well. Now, after the play, Cole suggests Malcolm talks to his wife when she's asleep. Cole also decides to open up to his mother and talk to her about hers. He brings up how her mother was proud of her and that she saw her performing at a dance recital. Lynn didn't believe she made it because the pair had a massive fight. So she stood at the back and watched her daughter, but she never let her know while she was alive. Now, there are some similarities here to Cole's play, which we know Lynn missed. Lynn has to work 2 jobs to support them, so unfortunately she couldn't make it. So it's sort of history repeating itself, but in her own mother being proud, Cole realizes his is too. It's a great scene, and though we can't show the bike rider because of YouTube censorship, I feel like it's my favourite one in the movie. Like, I cried like 3 times watching it. Don't tell Screen Crush, mate. This scene was the audition for Lynn though, and it's what made Toni Collette realise she really wanted to do the film. We then close out with Malcolm speaking to his wife, and in the end he allows himself to let go. I love the transition from him being pressed against the wallpaper to it then being the cover of the pillows. Just works brilliantly, and it recontextualizes everything. It's a masterclass in storytelling that's then topped off by him saying goodbye. It always gets me, and though it's bittersweet, we're happy because all the characters are in a better place. Whether it's Cole, Lynn, Malcolm or Anna, they've all gone down this journey of acceptance. That is of course the final stage of grief, and it tops off this movie being about life and death. It ends everything completely perfectly, and yeah, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about those final few moments. Now, the movie went on to be a big smash hit both critically and commercially. Nominated for 6 Oscars, this included Best Picture. Haley and Tony got Best Supporting Actor nominations, and on top of this it got noms for Best Editing, Best Director and Best Original Screenplay. It was also rented by 80 million people in 2000 alone. That made it the year's top title, and it was a big box office success. Made for just $40 million, it ended up bringing in $672 million. Adjusted for inflation, that would be about $1.2 billion today, making it one of the most successful movies of all time. Especially for 40 million, mate. Can you imagine Hollywood getting that today? God damn! At the time, it was also the highest grossing Disney live action movie, with it being under Buena Vista. They bought it for $2.25 million, with it being a contract clause that M. Night had to direct. This was under David E. Vogel, but CEO Michael Eisner, he wasn't very happy. He was annoyed that the budget grew when they hired Willis and thought it was gonna be a flop. Eisner called Vogel to fire him, with the latter saying, "I've left you with one of Disney's biggest pictures. The Sixth Sense. Guy then hung up, and yeah, he apparently wondered what he thought of it all afterwards. Never found out, and I hope he's not roaming the earth. I haven't checked to see if he's alive or dead, but yeah, I hope you got your closure and all that success. Well done. Now though, I want to hear what you guys think. I actually put out a poll earlier in the month with this winning out as our Halloween breakdown. However, I was kind of surprised at how many people just don't like the movie. Hopefully, if you're one of them, this has changed your mind, but let me know below if it hasn't. If you love it, I'd love to hear that as well, so make sure you drop it below. Please hit the thumbs up on the video as well, and if you want to support the channel as a member of the Spoiler Society, then please click the join button. For less than $1 a month, you'll get early access to videos every week, and it goes a massive way towards helping us out. If you want to get some heavy spoilers merch, we've also got our t-shirt line located just below the video that will let you pick up all kinds of tops like our Theory Time one, House of Dragon stuff, 007 one, Alien Chestburster, Marvel stuff. There's so much, I've forgotten it all. We drop new designs on there all the time too, so definitely keep an eye out. Now if you want something else to watch, you've got a video on screen right now. Congratulations, it's a 2-hour breakdown of Fellowship of the Ring, so yeah, go check that out right after this. Without the way, thank you for sticking through this video. I've been your host Paul, you've been the best, and I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.